Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGamingTech.com video, we're going to be discussing recent comments from Peter Molyneux. He was quoted in saying that he wants the next generation Xbox to be the ultimate gaming console. Now, he's aware of their original plans for the next generation Xbox, which, of course, has a couple of names right now. Durango is being bandied about, as well as Fusion, but he isn't aware of their current plans. However, he is worried that they are going to be distracted by Facebook, Twitter, and various other add-ons to the device, and he would rather, I think many of us would, including myself anyway, I don't know about, some of you guys, but he would rather they focus solely on games. Now, that's not to say that, of course, we are precluding the other stuff. However, he would rather the first and foremost priority to be making an absolutely fantastic gaming machine. These comments have been echoed by several in the past in the industry, and honestly speaking, I think one of the concerns that many analysts are starting to have over Microsoft is that they are biting off too much. However, Peter did actually comment on the next generation PlayStation, specifically on the conference, and said that Sony are doing an absolutely fantastic job right now and they are looking very impressive. However, he's not that concerned. He believes that Microsoft are brilliant at doing their stage shows, and he also believes that they're going to be really good at showing off next generation hardware. To be fair, I have to confess, I watched the original unveiling of the Xbox 360 back in the day, and I think the person's name was Jay Allard. I probably got that wrong, but I remember when he was unveiling the console, I was pretty, I don't want to use the word flabbergasted, but I was pretty darn impressed with not just the quality of the actual system, but also about the presentation, because ultimately speaking, the presentation is basically there to sell you the system, and of course I don't just mean you as in the gamer, I also mean it to the world. That includes the press, because ultimately speaking, members of the press have quite a lot of sway. Obviously, if a website is saying, well, I lost my fingers when I touched the console, people are probably not going to be that enthused by it. However, it does seem that Peter is quite eagerly anticipating the next generation Xbox. Of course, one of the titles that is rumoured for the next generation Xbox is a MMO by the little name of Fable, although there isn't any specifics yet on what the system of the MMO may or may not be like. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that, as a slight aside on a very raw perspective, because I really like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This is somewhat going off topic, but I have to confess, when it came to Tor, the Old Republic, and was MMO, I found myself disliking it some. And it's nothing to do with the game in terms of the storyline and so forth. In fact, that's what actually drew me to the title to begin with. I just was like, should I treat this as KOTOR 3? But what it basically was is I saw these other players wandering around, and no offense to them or whatever, but I didn't want them there. I wanted a sequel. I wanted a true story that was unique to me. And honestly speaking, when I play an MMO, for example, Guild Wars 2 or World of Warcraft or Age of Conan or whatever other MMO I've happened to play at the time, I enjoyed it because I knew that I was on a quest, and my mindset was, hey, you know what, we have to work together for the endgame dungeon. But whenever I've played a title like Fable or KOTOR or Mass Effect or whatever, I've been fairly vocal on this in the past. I've always gone at it as, hey, I'm the hero, I want to play the game my way. And especially Fable, now obviously because there aren't any major details yet at the moment, indeed Peter has just merely said that when we were brainstorming what do we do in the next Fable, we're always like, maybe we should go out and go the MMO route. There were many theories about how and what you would level up and the class up and what classes would be and so on, but we never got out of the brainstorming segment of that. And I can see why it would work. The thing about Fable is it has a rich world, and it was, well, what the name says on it. It's all about Fable and Albion and this idea of legends and humour and so forth. I'm not going to bother to read the rest of the quote. But honestly speaking, I can kind of see where he's coming from. However, I'm more going to point us towards the next generation Xbox as a final conclusion to the video. I personally would like to see a Microsoft stick. I wouldn't say exclusively to games, because that's very dangerous in this climate. Obviously, Sony are concentrating on video sharing, and with the next generation Xbox as well, there are apparently improvements to the achievement system and so forth, which, to Microsoft's credit, when the achievement system was first added, especially early on, people were really achievement whore, and I'm not saying it in a bad or negative light. There's no other way I can say that, but people really love to get achievements, and especially early on in the console's life, I was actually reading on forums that people were actually like, what games can I possibly play to get like really easy achievement points, and people were actually competing on the forums to get achievement points, and I was like, I never really understood it personally. I mean, I kind of went through the phase at the beginning when I was competing against someone I know, and then I was like, you know what, that's not really how I'm enjoying the system, and then I kind of stopped after I got like, I don't know, ridiculously low achievement points, like 5,000 or something. After all, the system had just come out, but I just thought to myself, this isn't really, to me, conducive to play. But apparently they are going to be making improvements to how the system actually works, and apparently as well, both Sony and Microsoft wish to better integrate into the Facebook and Twitter and all of the other social media that you would expect and come to love in everyday life. And one, of course, would expect this to go hand in hand with the video sharing functionalities that, of course, have been touted several times over, especially with the PlayStation. However, these have been also rumoured quite spectacularly in regards to the next generation Xbox. In fact, apparently it does have some hardware that's specific for that. Once again, however, all the details at the moment are rumours, and they haven't actually been confirmed. As for me personally, and this is my own personal opinion, it has nothing to do with market forces, it has nothing to do with anyone else, just my own personal opinion. I have to confess, I don't actually view a console like that. I do own a PS3, as you guys know, and also a next generation, Xbox 360 as well. However, generally, I do use the PlayStation for Blu-rays. I confess I don't actually own a dedicated Blu-ray player because I feel that the PlayStation does a fairly decent job, actually. But honestly speaking now, I find myself not really even buying Blu-rays. I find myself, I have a Love Film account with instant streaming. I did have Now TV, although I've cancelled it. I'm thinking about reinstating it, however, and also have Netflix, and I find myself more than satiated with this kind of stuff. It's like the stuff comes out so quickly. Let's say I want to go see Star Trek Into the Darkness at the cinema, and let's say I see that. It's probably not going to be that long before a derivative thereof is available to rent or whatever. In regards to Microsoft's ploys in this, and ploy is perhaps a negative term, I don't really want to use that, but in terms of their plans, I can understand the premise, especially in regards to the TV shows, however, and it would definitely make the system attractive for families who are, let's say, in the market for an everyday device. But I don't also want them to dilute things, because it's worth noting that Microsoft were actually beating Sony early on in the launch. Obviously, they had the benefit of time, which is always a great thing, because it doesn't matter if your system is technically better. I'm not going to go into the technical specifications of both systems, but it doesn't matter if your system's technically better. If your system has better games, then obviously that's going to be an extreme win. However, in regards to the PlayStation 3, what happened is they started to come out with more and more and more and more exclusives, and Microsoft started to fall behind a little bit. And right now, of course, there are once again rumors. I don't like to say that there is evidence or whatever, because it's always hearsay, but developers have been stating that have been working on Microsoft stuff that they are apparently behind Sony. Up to 6 months, so obviously not all projects are 6 months, that's just ridiculous. Some could just be, running on schedule, some could be a couple of weeks, some could be a couple of months, but some are up to 6 months and some have been scrapped. But due to numerous plans, obviously eventually they could be reinstated or what have you. But for me, I would prefer a much stronger games lineup at the start and then extra features be rolled out as and when. That happens certainly with the next generation, so with the Xbox 360, but honestly speaking, it never really... I personally didn't really give a hoot. For example, my PlayStation 3 can do, love film streaming or whatever, as can, most systems now do that kind of thing, but I just don't really care. I mean, maybe that's just me. Obviously, I'm in the minority, but possibly in the minority, but my PC can do it, or my cell phone could do it, or if you have a laptop or whatever, so many different devices can do this type of thing. Although I do realise that they are going with the idea of actually adding extra channels and so forth. But I think Peter is right. I think for me, Xbox, at least early on, was synonymous with gaming, and obviously, that's not to say that the PlayStation didn't have online gaming capabilities, and indeed, Microsoft's system certainly wasn't the first to have it. Obviously, there was, say, online gaming even on the GameCube and the Dreamcast, and hell, even the Saturn actually had a modem for it. I can't remember what the speed was. I think it was like 14 or something like that, 14K. But regardless, there were numerous systems along the way, and I think even the SNES actually had a modem, so apparently you could do online banking with it, although I'm not really sure about the level of functionality outside that. I don't think you could exactly be surfing the web for it or whatever. Regardless, I think most people expect and want the best gaming experience possible, and that doesn't necessarily have to be with the shiniest graphics. I think most people just want the best gameplay and the most innovative games anyway. I think that just about does it for this particular video. Let me know your thoughts and so forth. Once again, I will be covering the next generation systems fairly extensively over the next few weeks, because obviously the next generation Xbox is just a couple of weeks away now from launch. I usually respond fairly well to messages on the YouTube channel. However, the best way, as I've said numerous times now, to get hold of me is to do so on Facebook. So that would be www.facebook.com/redgamingtech. So anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.